All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Testa and Neal. Keep it real. I'm Shea Neal. Alongside with me, Parker. Oh, I pointed the wrong way there. See, now we're learning. We're learning the way of the cameras, Parker. Parker Testa's over there. That's just a sneak peek of the absolute pandemonium that you're going to find with this show. But this is a show that we started when we were in college. Now we're both out of college and both full-time in media. So for the people that are new here, or maybe the people that didn't care enough to listen to us the first time, why don't we do a quick little intro, Parker? I'll let you go first.
Yeah. Well, here in Dayton, Ohio is where I'm at right now. Work at WHIO Radio here in Dayton. Do a number of different things around these parts. So, Shay, back to you, buddy.
Well, I spent 23 years in Dayton, Ohio, and then one day I decided to, uproot my life and move to Southeast Kansas, and now here I am. I work for KGGF here in Coffeyville. I run all their sports departments, so a lot of Chiefs, a lot of Royals, a lot of KU, K-State. We try to limit the Royals as much as possible. That team's terrible. But had a lot of fun out here. There's some really good people out here. But always, I was joking. I was on Chatterbox yesterday. Great people. Hope to have Trace Fowler and Nick Kirby on the show someday. But I was on Chatterbox the other day, and I told somebody in the chat called me a closet Chiefs fan, and I was wearing a Joe Burrow jersey when he said this. And,
no!
I was just like, well, before we get into this, I want to address something in the chat. I am not a closet Chiefs fan. I cannot stand the Kansas City Chiefs. And Nick was like, "Wow, shots fired." On Kansas radio. And I'm like, well, they know how I feel. They don't like it, but they know how I feel. And he's like, do they accept you? And I'm like, not really.
No,
they don't.
They don't.
We were at an auction last week and somebody won some like Chiefs flag or whatever. And I went to bring them their item. And when I did that, Parker, you know just as well as I do how much I love to just stir the pot and start shit.
Always.
I know. So I bring this lady this Chiefs flag, hand it to her, and I say, "Who day? Go Joe Burrow, baby," because why not? And there you just got another sneak peek of why I'm excited to do this show, Parker. We are no longer on the WWSU airwaves. We're going to be streaming this at the start. We're going to be streaming this on YouTube. We're eventually we're so spontaneous that we didn't come up with a show YouTube channel yet. We don't have our graphics back yet, so we'll get there. You got to kind of give us be patient with us. We just basically how this happened was we texted each other and said, do you want to do this before any of the actual details of doing this? But we're going to start off streaming on YouTube. Maybe a little bit down the road, we might start streaming on like Facebook and Twitter as well. But we're going to have fun with it. I wish I could tell you how often we're going to do this and what time we're going to do this. But again, we're extremely spontaneous. So I think the best thing you can do is follow us on social media. I'm at KGGF Shea Neal on Twitter. I left it in the bottom left-hand corner. You can also follow Parker on Twitter as well. Parker, where can they find you on Twitter?
Well, I tried to put it on here. Well, I didn't realize that you were going to put your Twitter handle on the stream, and I can't figure out how to change it. So
I think it's when you enter the studio, you have the option of like the headline, and that's what you do. But I don't know if you can change it once you're in the studio.
Well, I haven't figured that out yet, but you can find me. It's just my name at Parker Testa on pretty much all social media platforms.
There you go. Well, we got a lot to get into today. Basically what Parker and I came to a mutual understanding of is we don't care if this show is going to be 8 minutes or 80 minutes. We are going to talk about what we want to talk about. And when we're done, we're done. We're not going to force anything, but at the same time, we're not going to rush to get through stuff.
Well, Shay, here's the deal. We've already made it through 4.5 minutes already. So
I know
somewhere.
Oh, I know. We are the kings of saying that something is going to take like 30 minutes and it takes like 90.
Yeah. Well, and that will more than likely is going to be the way this wind up being tonight.
And Parker, like we hinted at, we are not on an official radio station anymore. So therefore, we do not have to censor ourselves necessarily. I know I'm not going to be swearing like a sailor out here. But if I get fired up about something, it's nice to know that I can drop an F-bomb if I need to. But what I know you're very excited about and what I'm equally excited about is the fact that we can enjoy a nice little adult beverage while we do this show. So I'd like to, before we get into this, Parker, cheers to you, pal.
Yes, sir. Cheers to you as well. We're going on. Okay.
There we go.
All right. There
Welcome
we go.
To Keep It Real.
Yeah.
We're 5 minutes in. It's already a chaotic mess, and we've already both consumed alcohol on camera.
Well, welcome to the fun.
Well, Parker, let's get started. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time. We're not going to spend a ton of time on this, but I felt like it was important to bring up. And forgive for the people listening to this, whoever ends up listening to this. If you know more about this than I do, forgive me for sounding ignorant. Now, I know the shortstop is Grace Lyons. I know their pitcher is Jordy Ball because she was just dominant all postseason. But we're talking about Oklahoma Sooners softball here for a second. Now, I don't know this roster very well. I have watched enough softball to know that they are very, very good. But why we are here, why are we here talking about them, Parker, is because they just won their 53rd consecutive game. That's a Division I record and their third consecutive national title. This team isn't just really good. They are one of the most dominant programs in NCAA history.
Right. And like you know a hell of a lot more than I do about them because you know players. I don't know any of the players, but I've seen headlines and things like that. And this, it's impressive. 53 straight and 3 straight championships. When was the last time you saw a team win 3 straight championships, in any sport? It doesn't happen very often. So it's impressive. I saw this headline today that is it bad for softball or is it a super team? What is it? I don't know, but it's a heck of a lot of fun to watch.
It certainly is. And, congratulations to the Sooners. I know that that's an interesting debate because I know I kind of felt this way at times with Tom Brady and his career. But Parker, I'm curious where you stand on this. I know there's some people that, and it's very common among sports fans to hate the person or the team that's on top. People hate Tom Brady because he is the all-time winningest player in the history of the NFL. People hate LeBron James because he's been the best player in the NBA for his whole career. People hate people hated, people don't really hate Mike Trout, but people hate athletes for being dominant at what they do. So how do you feel about this? Are you in the boat where I think as I've gotten older, I've become less of I hate a person for succeeding or I hate a team for succeeding. And it's more so now it's just like, look, this doesn't happen very often. We should just, appreciate history while we have it.
Well, I think it's more rare in college than it is in pro sports. Like, you don't see teams just dominate a certain sport for years on end. You could make the argument for, an Alabama in college football or Clemson and, or Duke in college basketball for a certain period of time. But, I think it's good. It draws attention to the sport. And that's what it's really all about is drawing attention because you and I are talking about it right now. If this wasn't happening, then we wouldn't be talking about it. So it's good for the sport. So, why not?
Right. You're absolutely right. We wouldn't be talking about it if they hadn't won 53 in a row. So it's unbelievably impressive. And congratulations to, of course, the Oklahoma Sooners for their third consecutive national title. Now, Parker, coming up a little bit later tonight, it might actually be underway at the time that we are streaming this. But the NBA Finals, Game 4, it starts here in 2 minutes. Nuggets and Heat. First of all, of course, I don't have to. You're a smart enough guy. This is pretty much a must-win for the Miami Heat. You cannot go down 3-1, go back to Denver facing that deficit. You have to find a way to win on your home court tonight. But for what I want to lead off with talking about is Nikola Jokic the most skilled center we've ever seen play in the NBA? He is unbelievable. 32 points, 21 rebounds, 11 assists in Game 3. Parker, he's the first player in the history of the NBA Finals with a 30-20-10 triple-double.
Yeah, the most skilled, maybe. I don't know. Like, if you said the most dominant, see, this is an argument. This is such a stupid argument, because this is the NBA it's a lot like baseball or in any sport, really. It's generational, right? So you have your dominant centers, your dominant, position players based on the era of the game. Could Jokic be that for, the recent past? Sure. And the foreseeable future, of course. Right now in the NBA, yeah, he's won the MVP for a reason. Like he's a pretty damn good player, right?
Yeah.
So, like, this is I don't like this argument. This is just, I just think this is an argument that it's generational, Shay. We've talked about this in the past, but is he the most skilled guy of all time? I don't know.
Would you say he's the best player in the NBA right now?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Okay. The best overall player, yes. Because he's just, 30 and 20. I mean, are you kidding me?
Yeah. With 10 assists. And I mean, now
Right.
A lot of people, I've seen a lot of people have this debate the last couple of days. A lot of great duos in the NBA. You've got, of course, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. A great one out in Phoenix now, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker. Where does Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic fall for you on that list? I mean, obviously, maybe not the most talented duo compared to some other duos, but they're in the NBA Finals halfway to a championship, up 2-1. That has to count for something.
It does. Yeah, for sure. And like you said, they're in the finals. They're obviously a talented team. Jokic and Murray, I think, Jamal Murray is so much fun to watch. Jokic is obviously the star of that team and he's the MVP and, we know all that. But if you ever watch Jamal Murray play, he's a lot of fun to watch. And I certainly think so. He's up there, or they're up there with the more talented duos in the NBA. And not just, it doesn't have to be center guard or forward guard, it's Thompson Curry, that's a fun deal. Like you said, the group in Phoenix. So they're certainly up there, I think, is certainly one of the top 3 duos in the league.
Well, game 4 tonight, just underway in Miami. Heat just scored first, so they're up 2-0. I mean, I said before the final started, my pick was Nuggets in 6. I don't think the Heat are obviously out of it yet, but if they lose tonight and go back to Denver down 3-1, I mean, I think Denver's pretty damn close to having this in the bag.
Your odds certainly aren't favorable here,
right.
But Miami surprised everybody the entire offseason. They were down 2 games in their one of the series here recently, and Jimmy Butler's done unbelievable things. And as a Pacers fan growing up in Indiana, I don't like that the Heat are winning basketball games. But I think the Nuggets win this series also. But the Heat certainly, they're going to give them a fight for it. Right now it's 2-1, but based on the first basket tonight, I think the Heat won the game.
I like that. I feel like the Pacers are always the bridesmaid, never the bride. They've come up short against the Knicks. They've come up short against the Heat, the Celtics, the Cavs. I mean, and now it's just, when are the Pacers going to break through?
It's a question I've been asking for years, Shay.
Oh, man. I'm rooting for them. I mean,
yeah.
I'll tell you what, they have a good starting point because Tyrese Halliburton's a heck of a player.
Right? Yeah, and they somehow managed to keep Miles Turner.
Yeah, that was impressive. I don't think anyone really saw that coming.
I certainly didn't, for sure.
So let's get into it. One of the bigger stories of the week, Parker, and that's Dalvin Cook being released by the Minnesota Vikings after 4 consecutive Pro Bowls. Now, I'll lead this off by saying I really see this from both sides. Yes, Dalvin Cook is one of the most talented running backs in football. Yes, he is still only 27 years old. Yes, he is going to be signed by a team and make a big impact. But he was also costing the Vikings $14 million in cap. And even though he has 4 straight Pro Bowl seasons, Parker, he's never played a full season. He has been beaten up in his time in the NFL with knee injuries, shoulder injuries, foot injuries. So I see it from both sides. Is it hard for the Vikings to cut ties with a really talented running back? Sure. But at the same time, I don't laugh at the Vikings for making this move. Now, it could come back to look like it bit him in the ass. Cook could run for 1,500 yards wherever he signs. But at this moment in time, I don't know if I agree with it, but I see why they did it.
I'm with you on that. But then again, this is Dalvin Cook we're talking about here. Like this guy is one of the best running backs in the league. Sure, he's had injuries every year of his career, but 4 straight Pro Bowls. I mean, this is the Minnesota Vikings. What the hell is Kirk Cousins going to do for you? I mean, he's the definition of an average quarterback. The Vikings somehow they're up there in that NFC North, and I think they win the division next year. I think the Vikings are up there in that division. And I think the Lions are right there with them too. But you can't let Dalvin Cook go, because I think what you said is exactly what's going to happen. He'll go wherever he goes and run for 1,500 yards and 15 touchdowns next year. I think that's what's going to happen. So again, like you said, I can see why the Vikings let him go, but I don't like the decision. I wouldn't have done it if I was the Vikings brass.
Now, and maybe I'd feel better about it if the Vikings had a better plan than they do. Right now, I like their receiving core. Of course, TJ Hawkinson, they went out and got in that trade. I like Hawkinson at tight end. They have Justin Jefferson. They went out and got Jordan Addison, the rookie out of USC. I believe they still have KJ Osborne as well on that roster. It's a good passing attack, to be real with you. But right now, everything we've heard, they're going into the year with Alexander Mattison as their every down back. And
he's not a starting back in this league.
I like Mattison for what he's done in the past couple of years. Third down back, receiving back, change of pace back. I don't see a world where Alexander Mattison is a top running back every down.
Well, last year I had Alexander Mattison on my fantasy team for a period of time. Guess what? He got cut. That's
saying something. If you get cut from Parker Testa's fantasy team, you suck.
Right. and he can't, a guy who puts up 4 or 5 fantasy points every week in the NFL as a backup running back, he can't start. I mean, come on.
I don't know. Maybe if they traded for like DeAndre Swift and they were, I know interdivision trades are rare, but if they traded for Swift and we're doing Swift Madison as 1A, 1B, I'd feel better about that. But going into the year, putting all of your eggs in Alexander Mattison, I don't know.
But are there any decent free agent backs out there that the Vikings could go after?
Well, if they were so sure on getting, I don't know. I feel like if 2 months ago, if they felt like there was any chance that they were going to cut Dalvin Cook, why did they not take a running back?
Well, maybe I don't know. Like you said, they have to have a plan, right? You don't cut a 4 straight Pro Bowl back and not have a backup plan, unless Alexander Mattison is that backup plan, and then, well,
good luck.
That makes the Vikings brass look more stupid than we thought.
Madison's going to, there's a solid chance Madison runs for 1,300 yards and makes both of us look like dumbasses. But.
Or this just came to me, Shay. What about this?
Can we clip that? Or.
We'll work on that. The production staff we don't have.
I was going to say, can our editor that we don't have clip that, please?
Right. What if they're cutting cap to sign somebody? Maybe DeAndre Hopkins?
Yeah. Very possible. Very possible. And I think there's still a chance, there's going to be running backs that get cut in training camp and preseason. This isn't set in stone, obviously. We're still 2 months away from training camp. But I just think right now what I've heard that they want Alexander Mattison to be their feature back. I don't like that more than I don't like that they cut Dalvin Cook. If they cut Dalvin Cook and they were like, okay, we have a 3rd-round rookie, or okay, we traded for DeAndre Swift, or okay, we signed Samaje Perine in free agency. That's something. Right now, you have a guy that's only played on 3rd downs in his NFL career, and I just don't feel comfortable about that.
It's like the Colts cutting Jonathan Taylor and replacing him with Zach Moss. It's a horrible idea. Right. And the Vikings are the definition, and I can't believe we're talking about the Vikings. I'm wearing purple right now, but the Vikings are the definition of average. They get everybody's hopes up, and then they start out every year. Shay, how many times have the Vikings started out the year 6-0, 7-0, and just fallen off in that second half.
Well, and it wasn't just, that they fell off. I mean, they went into the playoffs like 13-4, and then the Giants beat the shit out of them.
Mm-hmm.
The Giants kicked their ass.
Right. And to be honest, Viking fans are still living on the Minnesota Miracle. Guess what? It's over. Stephon Diggs plays in Buffalo now. Kirk Cousins is still a crappy quarterback.
Well,
Get over yourselves.
That was the magical year of oh good Lord, who was their quarterback? Case Keenum. That was the magical year of Case Keenum.
Oh right, Kirk Cousins didn't even play.
Well, no, they got to the NFC Championship game. Kirk Cousins wouldn't have been the quarterback. Because remember, they got their ass kicked by the Eagles. Yep.
Yeah, that's right. It
was like 38-7 or something like that.
And then Nick Foles
beat Tom Brady. Exactly.
Currently unemployed, by the way.
But 2-0 against Tom Brady.
Who cares?
Eli Manning and Nick Foles have to be just, absolutely loathed by Tom Brady.
That Super Bowl is the only thing Nick Foles has going for him.
Brady might have a dozen rings if it wasn't for Eli Manning and Nick Foles.
It's still unbelievable to me.
It's crazy. But I pulled up Dalvin Cook's stats here. This is crazy because Dalvin Cook hasn't really played a full year, but his stats are still nuts. 2019, we'll start in 2019 because his first 2 years he was kind of splitting carries with Latavius Murray. 2019, 14 games, total 1,600 yards, 13 touchdowns. That's rushing and receiving. 1,600 total yards, 13 touchdowns. 2020, 14 games, 1,800, almost 1,900 total yards, 17 touchdowns. 2021, 13 games, 1,400 yards, 6 touchdowns. And last year, 2022, 17 games. He ended up with almost 1,500 yards and 10 touchdowns. I mean, he's not playing full seasons, but Parker, in 14 games, he had 1,900 yards and 16 touchdowns.
There's one word that I think of when I hear all of those stats. Consistency. The dude is damn consistent.
And he's damn good.
And it's hard to find a consistent running back in the league. You maybe got 5 or 6 of them.
Now, where do you think he ends up? I mean, the team we've heard the most about is the Miami Dolphins.
Well, we'll finish this Dalvin Cook point.
Yeah.
And then I want to talk about the Dolphins because there's a certain individual that works in that city.
Yeah.
Or in that organization who is
in
very
that building.
bizarre.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't see it in Miami because they already have Jeff Wilson, who they picked up last year from San Francisco, and it's
the Dolphins just seem like what they have right now with Waddle and Tyreek Hill and I forget who their tight end is now because Gesicki went to New England or wherever he went, but I just feel like the way they play through that speed and that kind of short passing game. They really just need a bunch of receiving backs. They don't really have a need in the Mike McDaniel offense for a bell cow running back.
They need an Alabama back. One of those guys who can do both, catch it and run it.
You know how dominant and just OP Najee Harris would be on the Dolphins? Oh, he'd be so good. He's damn good in Pittsburgh where they have no O-line.
They have no anybody.
Yeah, that's true.
But
they still have TJ Watt.
Oh, that's one guy. One guy's not a football team. We know this, but
somehow they managed to go 9-8 every year because Mike Tomlin's got voodoo magic.
I don't get that. I really don't. But where does he go? Here's an interesting spot for Dalvin Cook,
and
it's in division. Chicago. I like the fit of Dalvin Cook in Chicago. I think the Bears are going to be fun this year. I really do.
I agree with you on that. I think the Bears are an exciting team in the sense that I love that they went out and got DJ Moore. It's a team that got a lot better. I think they're a team that intrigues me, and I think I've seen some people say that Justin Fields is a borderline top 10 or top 5 quarterback in the league with his talent. Wrong. I'm not going to go that far. But I do think he's pretty good, and he's got a chance to be a quarterback that brings the Bears back to the promised land. And thank you for that subtle little wrong halfway through that. I was getting to that, but thank you.
Well, I can't delay my, instant reactions to things. It's part of this program.
Yeah. That's just something you just got to know you're going to sign up for. But I stalled so I could pull up the Chicago Bears roster and look at the running backs on this team. They have Dante Foreman, okay, backup. Khalil Herbert, I do like Khalil Herbert a lot. But Travis Homer, Rashawn Johnson, Treston Ebner, really nothing I've been really impressed with. So I think you go out and I like that that fit you just described in Chicago, where you can go out, you can have Cook as the starter. Herbert is a really good young backup. And then if somebody gets hurt, Dalvin Cook has been hurt in his career, or Khalil Herbert maybe isn't as good as we thought he was. You have maybe the best third string running back in the NFL in Dante Foreman.
Well, and guess what? You take the pain off the legs of Justin Fields because you have a bell cow running back in Dalvin Cook.
Yeah. Well, and your best, and what's the interesting thing about Chicago is your best running back on the team isn't a running back. And yeah. I'm not trying to make a Lamar Jackson. Right. I'm not trying to make a Lamar Jackson.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Justin Fields is a better runner than he is a thrower, but he can throw the football. Don't get me wrong. He's got an arm on him, but that just tells you how good of a runner he is. When he's maybe the first, I mean, him and Lamar Jackson are the two. Jalen Hurts is good, but I think of Jalen Hurts as more like a Josh Allen type runner, just kind of a big guy that can run over you. But with Lamar and Justin Fields, the speed that they have, I think it's the most explosive quarterbacks we've had in the NFL since Michael Vick. I mean, Lamar Jackson and Justin Fields, I can't think of quarterbacks since Vick that as soon as they take off, you think they could go.
I think Hurts is in that conversation. I think so.
I didn't mean to kind of downplay Jalen Hurts there. I just think of Hurts as more of a power runner than kind of an elusive runner like those other guys.
Well, right. Like you said, speed certainly is, like you said, comparing it to Vic in the speed aspect, like Fields and Lamar are, up there 1 and 2, put them however order you want. But I think Jalen Hurts is up there as one of the all-around quarterbacks, up there with him and Josh Allen, are two of the best in the league as far as dual threat quarterbacks go.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think and that's probably something we'll eventually get into, the best mobile quarterbacks in the NFL.
We'll talk about that certainly at some point.
We'll figure this out. Yeah, I mean, especially when we get closer to training camp, we're not even gonna be able to control ourselves about talking about football. So,
there will be football talk for 6 months.
Yeah, I know. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Dalvin Cook here moving forward. But since we were talking briefly about the Miami Dolphins, I'll let you introduce what you wanted to talk about next.
So basically, to be straight to the point, Mike McDaniel is a very weird individual.
Oh, yeah.
And I say this because I saw his press conference. Well, we were talking about the Dalvin Cook rumors, and the average person would say, I wasn't born yesterday. And he gets on the microphone and goes, March, whatever, 1980 something. That's the day I was born. And let's take a closer look at that date. That, in fact, was not yesterday. Okay, it's already weird, right? Because who takes this long to say something so simple?
I know. And he literally was only trying to say I wasn't born yesterday, and he turned it into a story.
And then he goes on to say, see, I got to find this because I want to get this exact quote right, because it's just strange. And where is it? I just had it here. And oh, come on. Now my phone is not going to cooperate with me here, of course. And he goes, you're not going to get this guy in year 2. Okay. What the hell is he talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Is he talking about that the fact that it's his second year in Miami and the brass aren't going to pay for him? What does that mean?
I don't know.
Like,
He's
I'm
a weird dude. Didn't he start off as like a ball boy with the Broncos?
something like that. And then, well, I know he worked with Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan at some point, but he looks like he belongs as like one of the IT guys at a government office. Like, he should not be on an NFL sideline.
Yeah. No, I forget the exact quote, but somebody took a picture of Mike McDaniels walking on the sideline, and it's like Mike McDaniel looks like the guy that if you let the fantasy football team owner coach the team.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what he looks like.
He just he looks like the furthest thing from a football coach. He looks like the guy you'd look off his paper for answers on an algebra test.
Exactly.
And if my parents end up seeing this, no, I did not cheat on any test ever.
No comment on that. There was. I honestly went to high school with a kid who looks not too far from Mike McDaniel.
Yeah,
very similar.
Let's just say that I have a college degree. They cannot take that piece of paper away from me. So whatever's uncovered in the future is their problem.
There you go.
What are they going to do? Fly out here and take it?
Disclaimer. We're a half hour in, and there you go. You get the show disclaimer.
Yep, there you go. Yeah, that's great. We should, first of all, okay, we're going to eventually talk about the number one prospect in baseball, but I want to start off. I don't know if you've seen this, Parker. This is not going to be the first time I do this, but we are going to take a minute and bitch about John Heyman.
Oh my God.
Because
what did he do now?
He wrote a story about how the Mets and Yankees should trade for Alexis Diaz. Now, I think the way he worded it was Mets, Yankees have their eyes on Alexis Diaz. And what I said to that was I quote tweeted that. And I said, I'm sure the Reds have their eyes on Shohei Ohtani. Doesn't mean we're getting him.
I saw this. Yeah. Yes.
But at the end of the day, here's what I'm thinking. Yes, I know John Heyman's a national baseball writer. And yes, I know he wrote this stupid
he's
article.
Not a very good one.
No. He wrote this stupid article just for the purpose of getting clicks. But at the same time, everyone who says that Alexis Diaz should be traded to the New York Mets, the only legs that has is that he's Edwin Diaz's little brother. And how fun would it be if the brothers play together? Like, what the hell does that do for the Reds? We should just let his little brother go to New York and play with Edwin? But it's like the Reds are about to get good. The Reds look very, very improved, and they're only going to get better, and we're going to get into that in a second. But why on earth would you dump your dominant all-star closer who you have for 5 more years right when you're about to get good? Like, what's the point of that?
Sounds like John was pretty bored at work this week. He needed he needed a story, so he wrote up some bullshit. So, like
if you want to trade for a reliever, go get Chapman out of Kansas City or something.
Right. Like John, leave it alone. Well, find another baseball story. Go talk about how good Shohei Ohtani is.
And this is the most New York thing I've ever heard. There was some Reds fan responded to that, and they were like, yeah, we need like 3 top 100 prospects to even pick up the phone. And then some Mets fan responds and was like, we'll give you Tyler McGill. And I'm like, and Brett Beatty and Francisco Alvarez. I'm like, you want Alexis? You gonna pay for Alexis. But it's just, I don't know. It's sometimes just, as you can hear in how elevated my voice has gotten in the last 3 minutes, sometimes it's not just John Heyman. It's a lot of the times John Heyman, but it's not always John Heyman. It just pisses me off.
Sounds like it's always John Heyman.
It's mostly John Heyman. It just pisses me off when these writers just write these bullshit stories. And I think it's because now I'm writing stories covering sports, Parker. And there's sometimes, you write a lead to draw people in, or you write a headline to draw people in. But I have never said, like, the Royals are the favorites to sign Shohei Ohtani, Or, the Kansas City Chiefs should trade Patrick Mahomes for Josh Allen. Like, who the fuck does that?
Yeah, it's. I mean, I'm not going on here saying, "Hey, guess what? The Colts are going to trade for Devontae Adams." No,
Right.
it doesn't happen.
Should I tweet now and say the Reds should trade for Mike Trout? Yeah, they probably should. But are they going to? Absolutely not.
No, it's ridiculous.
I'd love to trade for Aaron Judge. We're not getting him.
John was fishing here, and he's no.
He caught a giant patch of seaweed.
He didn't catch anything. He came up empty.
He's
bare hook.
He's working his ass off to try and shake that whole arson Judge thing.
Oh, that was one of the greatest moments in baseball Twitter history.
That 10 minutes where everyone thought Judge was a giant.
It was the greatest. The texts that were exchanged between you and I.
Oh, man. And then as soon as we found out he was wrong, we called John Heyman some things that our mothers would not be proud of.
No. Yeah, and it's come on. John has had a rough year.
John's had a rough decade. I'm not old enough to know if John got off to a hot start. To end up at MLB Network, I feel like he had to have.
Right.
But the last 15 years, I mean, homie's dragging behind.
And it's all because of, guess what? Twitter.
Oh,
Twitter is a horrible app.
Have you seen some of the selfies he posts?
I don't want to.
Oh, they're bad. And it doesn't help his case that Jeff Passan's just so damn good.
I don't want to see John Heyman's articles, let alone his selfies.
John Heyman probably isn't as bad as we think he is and as a lot of people think he is. It's just because Jeff Passan is so damn good.
And he's a fun Twitter follow. John Heyman is not a fun Twitter follow.
Jeff Passan is...
Because he tweets things like Arson Judge is a giant.
Jeff Passan's funny. Jeff Passan, if somebody ticks off Jeff Passan on a tweet, he'll roast them. It's hilarious.
Well, John Heyman's funny for a different reason, and that he sucks.
John Heyman, we laugh with Jeff Passan. We laugh at John Heyman.
There you go.
Yeah. There we go. I spent 5 minutes to just, get it out there that I am not happy that the Reds are one of the best young teams in baseball, and all the national coverage of this team until Ellie got called up. I will say that after Ellie got called up, everyone's been talking about Ellie, but until Ellie got called up, the Reds have been playing pretty good baseball, and all everyone was talking about was how we were going to trade Alexis Diaz. And I'm like, no, we are not. It's like, Parker, could you imagine if the Dodgers, I know the Dodgers are a big market team and it's hard to compare, but the Dodgers, let's say the Dodgers are coming out of a rebuild, a lot of really good young prospects, and all of a sudden, right when they're about to get good, they trade Evan Phillips. Why would they do that?
They wouldn't.
Right, exactly.
Unless you're Bob Castellini.
And I don't think even Castellini's that stupid.
Well,
he's stupid. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's that stupid.
Well, stranger things have happened, Shea.
I'm telling you what, if Alexis Diaz is wearing anything but red in the next 3 years, there better be 3 top 100 prospects in the Reds farm system.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see. Let's get into a fun Reds topic. And this is going to come across. I am a Reds fan, if you couldn't tell. I'm sure you could in the last 5 minutes.
Well, if you haven't figured out that you can see that our name tags are red, and if you go
to be fair, I did that for KGGF.
Okay.
I thought you were going to be able to change yours if you wanted to. I didn't realize it was the same for both. So.
It's all good. Well, if you go to that Twitter handle that I can't change on mine at KGGF Shea Neal, you will find a lot of Reds content on there, both good and bad.
Yeah, that's true. If it's coming from me, it's probably bad. If it's retweeted by me, it's probably good.
True.
That's usually what it boils down.
Or it's just a random thought that you have at 2:00 on a Tuesday.
Literally, that's how I get all of my tweets that blow up and get 30 likes are just when I spit out blah blah blah's pitched good the last 5 outings, and then 300 people love it, and I'm like, what?
Or just it's something random that happens during your day, Oh God, I don't know.
I know.
It's annoying.
Tripped on my way to my car.
You ever pump gas and they say, "Please see the cashier"? No thanks. Like stuff like that. Like
That's we talked about that. Whenever I'm filling, this is probably a bad thing, but whenever I'm filling up gas, if the pump like is out of paper and it says please go inside for a receipt, I'll just drive off. I don't need it that bad.
yeah, the receipt's not that important. Like I'm good without the damn receipt.
I have a bank app. It'll tell me how much I spent.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like the receipt is good for some things, but not all things. If I have to walk more than about 10 feet and talk to a human being, it's not worth it.
You know what's funny? This is just one of the many instances of we're just going to go off the rails on this show.
And I assume it's going to be like this. We're not going to get to any of the stuff we planned. We're just going to talk about random nonsense.
No shot. But I was filling up my gas tank today, and I was talking to our GM about this. Just how different Kansas is from Ohio. I was filling up at a Phillips 66 station in downtown Coffeyville.
There you go. We don't have Phillips 66.
Exactly. Well, that's point number one.
Right.
This big lifted Ford F-150 pulls up to the pump next to me. Okay. Now, back in Ohio, Parker, I would say it's a safe assumption that if a lifted F-150 pulls up next to you in Ohio, it is probably a male between the ages of 20 and 50. I would say that's probably a pretty fair guess.
I'd say 85%. Yes, that's the case.
What do you think came out of, or who do you think Who do you think came out of the lifted Ford F-150 today, Parker?
I assume not a man.
A 21-year-old girl.
And I guarantee you she was about 5 feet tall and not a very large girl.
She was probably more like 5'6". But
okay.
Yeah, no, right. I went inside to get a drink and I come out and I'm just like, is that like a blonde girl in college driving that big truck? And I told our GM this and he's like, yeah, you're lucky you came out in an SUV because if you came out in a Honda Civic, you'd be bullied for it.
Yes. Yep. Well, and
a lot of dirt roads out here, a lot of trucks and SUVs.
That's yeah. And I that has been the case. I have seen the smallest of people come out of those very large trucks.
I know.
It's it's
wild.
It's
wild.
I
just thought that was funny. And since you mentioned, since we got on the topic of what? Oh. Since we got on the top, I just got a text and I don't understand what it means.
All right. Well,
okay. Hang on. There's a picture coming with it. Okay.
Okay.
Now I understand what it means. Matt Jordan, if he ends up listening to this, he is an asshole. He told me he was going to Chipotle tonight because he's going down to Oklahoma, and he just sent me a picture of it and said, just wanted to remind you one more time. So, Matt, thank you.
Good for Matt. He's having a hell of a Friday.
He's going to spend the weekend with his girlfriend.
Hey, there you go. Good for Matt.
He's having a great weekend. Yeah. Okay. Let's get into Ellie De La Cruz because if we're just gonna end up keep pushing it back if we don't. So Parker, I'm gonna try my best not to sound like a Reds fan and sound like a baseball fan when talking.
You're not gonna succeed.
I said try. Now, first of all, I think this is just awesome for baseball as a whole. I think that, obviously I don't know how consistent he's going to be. I don't know if he's going to be able to perform at a high level, at the highest level of professional baseball, but just the tools that you see from this 21-year-old, fastest sprint speed in the last 2 years on a triple he hit in his second career game. First home run, 115 miles per hour off the bat to the top row of the stadium. He has the calculated strongest arm of any player in minor league baseball. I mean, the tools, this could be a guy that if it pans out, I don't know if it will, but if it pans out, this could be one of the 5 or 6 best players in the league.
Yeah, right, no doubt about it. I watched that game the other night where he hit that home run, and we were texting each other about it because Mookie Betts hit a home run to lead off the game, and then, lo and behold, Ellie De La Cruz hits one, and I believe your text verbatim was Ellie just hit one 6,000 feet,
Yeah.
and he did. And it's great for baseball because how many times do you see a player like this come out of a small market?
Mm-hmm.
You don't see it very often because, and Shea, I hate to break your heart because what I see happening down the road, and you know what I'm going to say,
Yeah, I know what you're going to say.
is the Reds won't pay him and he's going to go to some big market. And yeah, but if I'm a Reds fan, my advice, as I'm sure you are, is enjoy it while it lasts because I don't think Yali's going to be in Cincinnati forever.
Yeah, I think, and I think that we're on the same wavelength. What I said verbatim was the Reds need to give him $200 million right now, because if they don't do it in the next 12 months, I don't think they keep him. I think this needs to be a Wander Franco in Tampa Bay, a Julio Rodriguez in Seattle, a Fernando Tatis in San Diego. I know San Diego's got money, but one of those situations where you believe in a guy so much that it's like, hey, take hundreds of millions of dollars right now, just so you're not worth hundreds of dollars more in 5 years.
Well, right, like you said, take your money now because you're going to be worth triple, quadruple that here in about 5 years.
The issue I could see coming out of that is Ellie is a Boris client, and I don't know if Scott Boris is going to let a kid sign a deal like that.
Does Scott Boris want to tie one of his guys to Cincinnati?
Right.
That's my question because, a lot of the Boris guys are in bigger markets.
New York Mets, the Los Angeles Dodgers, yeah.
San Diego, and you have LA, you have New York, you have San Diego, and I'm sure Boris has plenty of other guys in big name markets. And then you have Cincinnati. Well, when you think of Cincinnati right now, what do you think of it when it comes to sports? You think of the Bengals.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Do the Reds keep him now? But the question is, what kind of deal do you give him right now? Because if you give him the deal and then next year he comes out and he hits 185, what now?
Yeah, right. No, this is a risky move. Obviously, I know that the Rays were worried, I think, for a couple of years because Franco was just hurt and wasn't playing. And I know they gave Franco like $180 million. And then Tatis, I mean, I think the jury's still out on Tatis. I mean, he's a great player. But Parker, since he signed that deal, he can't play defense at short. They've moved him to right field, which is a significantly less valuable position. He strikes out a lot, and he's been suspended for drugs and broken his wrist riding a motorcycle, all within like the first 3 years of that contract. Fernando Tatis, I mean, who's to say by the time he's 31, 32 years old, he's just, too much of a head case for the Padres to even keep him.
Shea, you know this. I have never been in on Fernando Tatis from the beginning. I didn't think he was good as everybody thought he was. And then he got on the cover of the show, and then everybody's like, oh, he's really good. No, he ain't. And to your point,
he benefits a lot from having Machado and Soto in that lineup.
He does, and it's a damn good pitching staff too that helps him out a lot. So the fact that you're taken from shortstop, the premier position in baseball, everybody wants to be a shortstop. You're moved from that to right field.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the few right fielders that's making $300 billion is Mookie Betts, and he's Mookie Betts. I mean,
right. Well, and I mean, Mookie, honestly, if he needed to, Mookie could play center field.
He could play any position he wanted to. I bet he could friggin' pitch if he. So, and he play and right. So, like you said, I think Fernando Tatis would be more valuable if he could play short, right field, center field, outfield, second base. Like Mookie can, but can he? I don't know.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I think going back to the main point of this though is I think it's not a guarantee that Ellie De La Cruz is going to be in Cincinnati for his whole career. It's not a guarantee that Ellie De La Cruz is going to be in Cincinnati for more than 5 years. But right now, the Reds have a player that looks like already just from a pure talent point, one of the best potential players in the league. And he's only 21 years old, Parker. What I said a couple nights ago on Chatterbox is if he's this good at 21, hitting these absolute blasts that we thought only Stanton and Judge could hit, running faster than Corbin Carroll and Trey Turner, having a stronger arm than Nolan Arenado or, Xander Bogaerts or somebody like that, just all these tools coming together. How good is he going to be at 25, 26 when he actually enters his prime? He could be a multiple-time MVP.
Well, the thing that depresses me the most, Shay, is I am older than this man. And this is the first time that I have followed a baseball player.
Welcome to the club. For me, it was Hunter Green.
Right. This is the first time that I have been a fan of a baseball player that I'm older than. And this is unbelievable. So, I just, like you said, 5-10 years or, even 3, 4, 5 years down the road, Elly De La Cruz, I really think could be one of the best players in baseball. We might see him on the cover of one of these games someday.
Yeah. And we could see, he could easily, I think, be one of these guys with, 2-3 MVPs. And, now there's no guarantee that the Cincinnati Reds are any good. But what I will say is,
excuse me for one moment. Please keep talking about Elly De La Cruz. I'll be back momentarily.
All right. This is live, folks. This is why we do it. But my thoughts on Elly De La Cruz. Obviously, I've watched the Reds long enough to know that the Cincinnati Reds, it's no guarantee if they're going to be good or not. But I think the biggest takeaway I've seen from the Cincinnati Reds this year, I'm not sure they're destined for a postseason run this year. I'm not even sure they're going to be in playoff contention come August or September. It's possible that, the wheels fall off the wagon. Their starting pitching hasn't been very good. One of their top young pitchers, Nick Lodolo, has a fracture in his shin. He's not expected back until next month. But what I have seen from the Cincinnati Reds is consistent progression. And they have young, talented players, Matt McClain, Elly De La Cruz, great young pieces. Spencer Steer is unbelievable. Tyler Stevenson, Jonathan India, who was Rookie of the Year a few years back. You also have great pieces like TJ Friedl, Hunter Green, the ace of that staff. I don't think it's a guarantee that the Reds become one of the best teams in baseball, but I think it is a fact that the Cincinnati Reds are playing much, much better than they were the last year or two with these young players like Matt McClain and Elly De La Cruz and TJ Friedl and Spencer Steer. And it looks like the trajectory, if they, continue, the prospects continue to develop and they sign a player or two in free agency, the trajectory could be the best team in the NL Central and a team that could compete to go to a World Series.
Well, yeah, like you said, it's because previously, you're a Reds fan, Shay, but we've seen the Reds trade these talented players before they get to the majors. And then we've seen them go on to become stars when they're not members of the Reds. So usually we don't see players of this caliber make it to the big leagues in the Reds organization because they've all been traded by the time they get to the big leagues. So this is really the first time we're seeing the Reds farm system come to fruition on a big league field. And they got some pretty good damn pieces there in Cincinnati.
Yeah, they do. I think Elly and Matt McClain being best friends is hilarious because Matt McClain's like 5'9" on a good day, and Elly's 6'6".
Right.
So when they hug, like Matt McClain's like at his rib cage, and it's hilarious. No, they're just it's a lot of young talent. Something I talked about that I think is going to be unfair. Everyone's talking about Elly, obviously, because he was the number one prospect in baseball. Everyone's talking about Matt McClain because he was the first player from the class of 2021 to hit the majors. But how damn good has Spencer Steer been this year? Hitting .290 with an OPS nearly 900, hitting in the 3-hole or the 5-hole for most of the year for this Reds team. And Parker, he's a rookie. Obviously, Elly and McClain are going to get all the hype, but right now, the Reds rookie with the best chances of winning Rookie of the Year is Spencer Steer.
Right. He's been good. And the thing that's interesting to me about this team is we really didn't know because I thought originally that they were grooming Elly to play third base. Mm-hmm. That's what I thought because I thought, and I told you this, I thought Elly was going to be called up before McClain was. Mm-hmm. And I thought he should have been, but it's worked out well for him. And like you said, Spencer Steer has been really damn good for him too. They got some fun rookies on this team.
They do. And like we hinted at, they still have Tyler Stevenson, a young catcher. They still have TJ Friedel's really taking a step forward in center field. And then, of course, you have the 2021 Rookie of the Year who's kind of become the captain of the Reds and Jonathan India. So it's a team that, like I said, I'm not going to say that they're going to dominate the league.
I like what you did there, Shea, captain. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm not going to say they're going to dominate the league, but the trajectory they're on right now with the pieces they have a chance to be really damn good.
And if you didn't get that joke, Jonathan India looks like Jack Sparrow. So,
well, he came out his half of his rookie year. He came out to Pirates of the Caribbean, the theme song. That was his walk-up song.
It was legendary.
Yeah, Jonathan India is a heck of a player. He's got great hair.
Great. I'd say among the best hair in baseball.
It's probably top 10 for sure. All right, Parker, we got a little bit more to get into in this show. Like we said, we're going to talk about everything we want to talk about. We don't really care how long it ends up taking, but something I wanted to hit on, since we're talking about baseball, I know you brought this up, but a lot of parity in baseball this year. Not really a lot of top teams at the top. I mean, there's a couple really dominant teams and there's a couple really bad teams. But Parker, there's a lot of teams in the middle. If I look here at the MLB standings, every single team in the National League is between 38 wins and 25 wins. And if you take out the Oakland A's and the Kansas City Royals, every team in the American League, minus the Rays and the Rangers, are between 38 and 26. So there's a lot of teams that are fighting for those middle, 25 spots in the league.
So I think it's a safe assessment to say that both Central divisions, AL and NL, stink.
Yeah,
right?
Fair.
Because in the National League, Brewers are leading the division at 34-29. One game back, the Pittsburgh Pirates.
That says a lot.
I know, right? 5 games back are the Reds. 7.5 back are the Cubs, and 8 back are the Cardinals. And the Cardinals have been awful.
Yeah.
The Cardinals have been terrible. So you can't. And then on the flip side, the American League, the Minnesota Twins have a losing record, and they are winning their division right now. 31-32, and the Minnesota Twins are winning the division. Right behind them, the Cleveland Guardians a game and a half back. I mean,
at least with the Oakland A's, they play in a division with the Rangers and the Astros, and even the Angels are okay. They play tough teams in their division. What does it say about the Kansas City Royals? The team that's winning the Central is under 500, and the Royals are still 18-44.
The Royals are 12.5 games back, and they have
to a team with a losing record,
and they have won 18 games. They're 12 back, and we're in June. Oh my goodness! I mean,
Oakland's 27 back. I think that's pretty amusing.
Well,
but Oakland? I will say, because I probably won't get to say it much this week. Oakland has not been completely terrible. They just won 2 games against the Pirates.
Well, here's the thing about this, because I think 2, 3, 4 years ago, a lot of the division standings we're seeing now are flip-flopped, right? Because like in the AL East, for example, that division right now, Rays, Orioles, Yankees, Blue Jays, Red Sox, in that order. 5 years ago, it was flip-flopped. 2018, Red Sox won the friggin' World Series.
Well, and until last year, the Orioles were the worst team in the league.
Right. And then you go in the National League, Braves they're good. Obviously, the Marlins right behind them, 3.5 back.
Marlins look good this year.
They do.
What a trade by the Marlins to get Luis Ariz.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And then, like you said, in the AL West, A's, well, they've been bad for a while. We know that. But Rangers, they're up there among the best teams in baseball. Like you said, top 2. And
now my personal belief is that coaches and managers absolutely have an impact on the game, but let's be real. The main reason why teams win and lose is the talent on the field.
Right.
But what I will say is this Rangers team for years has had talent and have been hovering 10, 15 games under 500. What a freaking job by Bruce Bochy to not just turn this team a playoff contender. He's turned this team into a top 5 team in the league.
Yeah, and for a guy who we all thought was retired, right?
And yeah. And my final thought, I'll let you obviously hear in a sec, but my final thought, of course, Jacob deGrom out for the year now with Tommy John surgery. I think he only pitched like 13 innings for the Rangers. What a get Nathan Eovaldi has been. Most of the time, losing a pitcher like Jacob deGrom would be a backbreaker for a team like that. You lose your ace, you lose your best pitcher, and all of a sudden you're down to, your number two is now your number one. Nathan Eovaldi's pitched like a number one. He has been unbelievable this year.
Really good, Nathan Eovaldi's been, and Bruce Bochy, retires from the Giants a few years ago, and was rumored for some jobs here and there past couple years. Nothing happened, and then they fired Chris Woodward last year, and then Bruce Bochy, Rangers.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you didn't know they signed Corey Seager, obviously, and he's they have some pieces there offensively, but Eovaldi's been damn near perfect. Stepping in to that one role for Jacob deGrom, who's obviously one of the best pitchers of this generation. And this Rangers team is fun.
Another reason why they're good, it's not their pitching, but another reason why they're good, their rookie, their top prospect, Josh Jung, he stepped in, played third base, not just well, he's been one of the best third basemen in baseball as a rookie.
Yeah. Right. Well, and then they're 5 games up on the Astros. We're talking about an Astros team that has won multiple World Series here in the last few years.
And I'd be willing to bet that number increases over the next couple of weeks because the Astros for the next 2-3 weeks are going to be without Yordan Alvarez.
Yep. So the Rangers,
they're good, and
they're fun to watch.
I'll tell you what, and this is more so credit to Bruce Bochy, but with what we saw with Tony La Russa, and now Tony La Russa is a Hall of Fame manager.
We're going to talk about old guy managers right now?
Tony La Russa is a Hall of Fame manager. I'm not going to, my opinion on Tony La Russa is not going to be based on his tenure with the White Sox. But with the Tony La Russa experiment, Parker, what did we see? We saw a really good Hall of Fame caliber manager return to baseball a decade later and suck. Could not adapt to the modern managerial styles of baseball and sucked. What have we seen with Bruce Bochy?
Here's the difference in that, right? Because Tony hadn't managed in years.
Yes.
Bruce was just managing a few years ago before Gabe Kapler took over the Giants.
It's been what, 4 or 5? 5 years for Bruce?
If that.
Okay. And I know it's not the same extent as La Russa retired in 11 and was hired in 21.
Well, and Bruce Bochy is not 80 years old. Tony La Russa was 80 years old and managing the White Sox.
Right. He's not, but I can't help but think of the last time a manager was hired out of retirement and came back and was absolutely awful. Bruce Bochy has come back after a 4 or 5 year hiatus with a brand new organization, an organization that struggled over the last decade since they lost Josh Hamilton, Adrian Beltre, Ian Kinsler core that was so damn good and came so damn close to winning back-to-back World Series. But Bruce Bochy's come in and he hasn't missed a freaking beat, man. This is San Francisco Giants Bruce Bochy just back at it again.
Yeah, I mean, Bruce Bochy is Bruce Bochy. It'd be like, I don't know, Don Shula. I mean, I know it's not possible, but Don Shula coming back and coaching now, it's not the same thing. But like you said, it's impressive to say the least. And the Rangers are fun. When was the last time, like you said, it's been years since the Rangers were good. Yeah. And I'm happy for Rangers fans because they have struggled through it and they've watched their team host, or they've watched their stadium host a World Series
that they weren't in.
Yeah. That they weren't in.
Yep.
And it's been utter hell for Rangers fans the last few years. And they're finally getting their moment.
And they got beat down by the Giants in 2010 and 2011 that they went, because 2012 was the Tigers, I think. So I think it was 2010 and 2011. They got beat down by the Giants. They probably weren't going to win in 2010 no matter what happened.
Well, then again,
in 2011, they were one strike away.
Well, then again, Bruce Bochy managing that Giants team.
Yep.
So it's
all come full circle.
Like you said, come full circle here for Bruce Bochy. And who knows? He won almost three straight World Series in San Francisco. Could we see that again here in Texas? I don't know, but it's surely a fun story.
It'll be interesting because, I mean, really, the American League is interesting this year because the three teams at the top, you have Tampa, Baltimore, and Texas. And really, other than Tampa, and even Tampa, Rasmussen's hurt, and Jeffrey Springs had to get Tommy John surgery. So they're down a couple arms. But really, Baltimore and Texas, without DeGrom, I mean, Texas has Eovaldi, but those two teams do not have what look like World Series pitching staffs. And they've just been so damn good. But what I hesitate on is when you get to October and you need to have these shutdown innings, is it finally going to kind of come out that Baltimore and Texas is maybe just a few pitchers away?
Jay, I finally figured out how to change my name.
Yeah!
There we go.
And now we're in.
Okay, repeat the question.
Okay, I said no. Basically, I looking at Texas and Baltimore and even Tampa now that they're down a couple arms.
Right.
The American League's interesting this year, and the best teams in the league really don't have elite pitching staffs.
Yeah.
So when we get to the playoffs, it's really hard to tell who's going to be the favorite because all these teams are so damn similar.
Well, I think it's just going to be come playoff time, who can score. I mean, obviously, you score more runs, you win the game, right? Yeah. That's basic sports 101.
I was going to say that's any sport pretty much, except for golf.
But I think the key is you just got to outscore the other team. You got to just, and I mean offensively overpower the other team. Mm-hmm. If pitching sucks on both sides, all right, you tell your offense, jump on these guys first, because 9 times out of 10, if you score first, that hurts confidence. Confidence wins games.
The way we're rolling right now, we could definitely see a lot of 9-8 playoff games.
Oh yeah, right, for sure.
Yeah. All right, we got one more thing, at least on my agenda, to talk about tonight. And this is just kind of, it's still sports, but it's just kind of, I don't know. ESPN announced that they will be parting ways with Neil Everett following 23 years. Now, Parker, I don't know. I feel like you've probably at least experienced this, but every single morning before school for me, it was Stan Verrett and Neil Everett hosting SportsCenter. That's how I got into sports. Those two are, I mean, Scott Van Pelt's fantastic. Stuart Scott, obviously fantastic. May he rest in peace. But Stan Verrett and Neil Everett were the it guys at SportsCenter for decades. They were the A team.
Well, you put out a tweet earlier today, and I couldn't agree with it more. When I hear the name Neil Everett, I think of bartender. Can I get a Jack?
Oh, it's so good.
So
the best way to call a home run, I think, in the history of sports.
Exactly. It's one of the more legendary home run calls of all time. By the way, up there with John Sadek's, that ball had a family.
They Cincy shirts did put that on a shirt. So now you can get a shirt with Ellie swinging and it says that ball had a family.
I gotta that might be a solid investment for me. But like you said, when Neil Everett, one of the all-time greats there at ESPN, and like you said, growing up, waking up every morning, watching the highlights from the night before headed to school that day.
Yeah, absolutely. And now I'm going to be careful with how I say this because there's still an avenue.
Oh, no.
There's an avenue later in my career where I don't want to tick off this company. But, Parker, I think just looking back on it, the last couple of years and some of the talent that ESPN's let go, I don't get it. And I know that they pretty much put all of their chickens into Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith is their guy. They're giving him like $8 million a year. Stephen A. Smith is ESPN at this point. But what I was talking to a guy that we're eventually going to get on this show, Chris Freund, what I was talking to him about is with the previous era of ESPN, Stuart Scott's, the Scott Van Pelt's, the Stan Verrett's, the Neil Everett's, the even some of the other guys like Barry Melrose, the hockey analyst, and how funny was the ESPN 30 for 30 commercial with oh goodness, like John Clayton. Mom, I'm done with my segment. They just
good.
The old era of personalities, Parker, and I'm going to sound like a boomer for this. The old era for the back in my day, ESPN had personalities.
They did.
And with this new era of ESPN, they have, anchors that look good on camera and that can read off of a script and that can, but it feels like a lot of these young anchors are trying to be the previous generation. I've heard some of these young anchors try to like do these lines that just don't work. And two, I don't understand, I guess, the vision of the company where they're dropping they're dropping individuals. I shouldn't say guys. They're dropping individuals with personality for younger people, which is a business, that is a business route. You drop the more experienced for younger personalities, but you're dropping people that have personality, that have that audience engagement for people that haven't built that up yet. And now ESPN's in a tricky spot where they have a bunch of young people that the watchers of ESPN either don't know or naturally don't like because they don't know, and they're replacing people that they did like.
Well, I think that it's not just ESPN. It's happening across every cable news, any form of cable news, cable sports, any network. It's happening everywhere because what's the driving force behind it, right? People are dumping cable. They're less revenue means less money.
Right.
Less money means you can't pay people, and it's all this domino effect. But like you said, and I think the thing is, you're hiring younger, cheaper talent, right? I get it, but ESPN it's always been fun to watch because it's for the sports fan. If your anchor is a sports fan and he's excited or she's excited about what's happening in this highlight, then naturally I'm excited at home because they're excited about what's going on.
Exactly.
And I think because maybe they're not getting sports fans as their anchors. That's what's taking away from the content itself.
That's a great point. I think it's less. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think the previous era was sports fans covering sports, and now talented people. Don't get me wrong, talented people.
Certainly,
but we have TV anchors covering sports,
right?
And there's nothing wrong with that. It takes a hell of a lot of work to get into television, as you and I both know. You have to work your butt off to end up in any sort of television capacity. If you're on every single day as an anchor, you have fought tooth and nail for years to get there.
Yeah.
But I think another reason why they're going younger is because this is the most digitalized sports media has ever been. How much sports news now do you see on Instagram, Twitter? How much sports content do you see on TikTok? I mean, we're basically at this point, most of sports media is driven by social media managers.
Right. And like you said, it's about, I would, if I'm a network, if I'm one of the, people making decisions at ESPN, if I'm hiring anchors, I would much rather have a sports fan who's not the best anchor rather than a fantastic anchor who knows nothing about sports, because you can bring along somebody's talent as an anchor.
Exactly.
You can't make somebody like sports. So like if I'm getting, like Barbara Walters to anchor Sports Center one night, like, Barbara Walters is a talented reporter, talented TV anchor, but she's not for Sports Center. Like it's about the viewing experience. And what's more fun to watch? Is it more fun to watch? Like if you and I did Sports Center tonight, I think people would love it because it would be just like you and I right now. Yeah. We've been talking about whatever happened.
We would certainly have to dial it back to some degree.
Well, you know what I meant by that. But
yeah.
Unfortunately,
we can't toast a sip of alcohol on TV. Here, cheers.
Right. Yeah. But it's fun to watch, and the last couple of years at ESPN, it's not fun to watch unless it's First Take.
Right. Well, first take's a different animal.
Right.
But I think really the overall consensus of this, and we both know this working in radio. I know you've started to do some stuff on television, but working in radio, that's where we both got started. And it's like you said, you can't fake the love for this. You
Right.
wouldn't do it if you didn't love it. You would not work in media if you didn't love what we do, because it's not worth it if you don't love it.
Right.
This is long hours, not a lot of sleep, working your ass off just to, make a name for yourself in a small city. And then you get to try in a medium city. And then you get to try in a big city. You are constantly working your butt off, losing sleep, losing, time with your family and friends. If you didn't love this, you would not do it.
It's a loop. It's a loop until you get to where you want to go. So
Exactly. But when we both were at WWSU or State University, what we said was we would rather have somebody that loves doing this, and we will teach you what you need to know, versus somebody that could be the best engineer, somebody that could be the best social media manager, somebody that could be the best blah, 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 but you just don't love it. Because if you can't teach it. If you just don't love it, I can't make you love it. And that's what I feel like with the modern era of not just ESPN, but the modern area of a lot of these sports anchors and a lot of these, it's more so people that are reading off of a script and just doing sports because that's what they were asked to do.
right.
Where I think you hit the nail on the head. Obviously, there's a line. You have to have some sort of television experience to host Sports Center at night. But you're absolutely right. I would rather find a sports director in Topeka, Kansas, that is the biggest sports fan in the world, and spend 6 months molding him into what I want the brand of Sports Center to be, versus somebody that just graduated from Syracuse and has done 3 years as a news reporter in New York. And maybe they are absolutely fantastic, Emmy award-winning journalists, and, just one of the rising stars in this business. And there are a lot of them. But at the end of the day, they don't cover sports, and you cannot make them love sports. And people that are watching your program will see right through it that they are not really a sports fan deep down.
Right. Because the true sports fans at home can see a sports fan from a mile away. And, if I'm watching at home and I'm saying, you know what, this guy doesn't, or this guy or this girl doesn't sound like that she's having fun. Because what did you used to see back in the day on Sports Center? Like in the days of when Dan Patrick and Keith Olbermann did it, or Stuart Scott, when Stuart Scott would say, "Booyah!" Like that was awesome.
I mean, even nowadays, like you watch NFL primetime with Chris Berman after the week of NFL games.
Well, Berman's Berman. Come on, Shay.
And yes, and I'm not saying that you can be Chris Berman, but nobody loves football more than Chris Berman. I'm watching highlights of a Bills-Jets game, and the Jets running back Breece Hall makes a move to break a tackle, and I just hear a grown man go, "What?"
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? That's awesome.
Right. And especially with
Dick Vitale doing college basketball. Oh, right. That's awesome, baby.
And it comes back to your point of personalities.
Yeah.
Like, these people based on their voice. They have something about like Dickie V. He has the awesome baby thing, the whole thing. Like John Madden, it was the that whole thing.
Yeah.
And the Traducan and all that nonsense. But everybody has their thing. It's and for Berman, it's it's the whoop, or it's his voice,
rumbling, bumbling, stumbling.
Right. So you just don't see the characters that you used to see.
And I think it's a combination of two things, if I'm being real with you. I think one, it's people that we've talked about that maybe aren't true sports fans and that don't really know to unlock that level of sports fandom. Or two, I think another big part of this is the society we live in. Of course, there are a lot of, rules and regulations that we've implemented into modern society that are very important, that deserve to be there, and that are absolutely needed. But so I'm not implying that, we should get rid of all the stuff that we've added. But I think there's a lot of people in modern media. I've felt this at times myself, Parker. I'm sometimes afraid to say something a certain way because of how it could be taken, how it could be interpreted, how it could spin back into my face and not look very good. You have to be more careful than you've ever been now with stating your opinion anywhere, even just on Twitter, tweeting something, even more so when you have hundreds and thousands of people listening to you on a daily basis.
And it's never more prevalent in an industry like the one we're in, or if you're a celebrity.
And we've
the meaning of the phrase, you get told it all the time growing up, think about what you say. But it is so damn true. You could go from the top of the world to the bottom in an instant.
And we've seen really, really talented broadcasters, really, really talented anchors, even earlier this year out in Oakland. Just one slip up, one taken out of context, one oops, one. Now, there are some that they were warranted. I will say that. There were some that absolutely should have been punished for what was said or for what was done.
Right.
But it is a perfect example of one screw up and you can lose everything that you've spent decades working for.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Well, I think that's a pretty good place to put a bow on this one. What do you think?
Sure. Yeah. Well, when we talked about doing this, like you said, or at the top of this, we didn't really have a whole lot of a plan going into this. We don't even have any graphics. We barely
I literally just used a photo of us for the thumbnail. For
right. Like we barely, this is a very bare bones operation.
Yes,
here.
it is.
But we're just sitting here talking sports and having fun. And like you said, when we started, we didn't care if this went 10 minutes or, 100, but we got a solid 2 hours in here almost.
Yeah. And I think it's a good, I don't think what my goal is that I don't want there to be dead time, and I don't want there to be like we're flying through stuff just to hit a certain time frame. I want to hit on everything we want to hit on, and however long it takes, because I think the stuff that we talk about on this show obviously is worth bringing up because we think it's worth bringing up. But at the end of the day, I think I'm excited about where this goes. Like I said, we really don't know how often we're going to do this. We don't know what time we're going to do it. We don't know what days we're going to do it. You absolutely are probably watching this now and going like, what the hell are these morons doing? Trying to do a show where they don't know when they're doing it. What they don't have a graphic. They don't have the one couldn't figure out how to put his Twitter handle on it for an hour. Yes.
Don't call me out. Come on.
Sorry. You're absolutely.
This is a new program here we're using.
But that's absolutely fair. But we're going to build this up over time. But I think you nailed it. I think at the end of the day, no matter when, I'm going to get a nice studio mic here in a couple of weeks that I'm very excited about, and it's going to get better and it's going to get more consistent as the summer months go on. We're going to have guests. We're going to have fun. But at the end of the day, it's just two guys talking sports. It's two guys just talking about, whatever we want to talk about. And we'd love to talk about it with, people that people want to get their opinions out there as well. We're going to try our best. You can't say judgment-free zone because people will take that too literally and say stuff that you will judge. But when it comes
there's always the possibility for judgment.
Yeah, that's fair. When it comes to sports, we will say we will welcome any opinions, but we will not promise you that we will not roast your opinion. If we think your opinion sucks, we will let you know.
There
are no such things as wrong opinions, but there are such things as shitty opinions.
I think there's wrong opinions.
There probably is.
Okay. Well, nonetheless, we take any and all opinions here on this program.
We do. Follow us on Twitter at KGGF Shea Neal, at Parker Testa. We'll of course tweet out when the next time we're doing this, and if we will eventually come to a schedule of we're going to do this day, at this time, blah 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 blah. But until we do that, very important to follow us on Twitter so that you can stay in the know of when we're doing this stuff. And like we said earlier, we're going to start off on YouTube. Down the road, I'd love to maybe expand to like Facebook and Twitter as well, just to give people different options. But YouTube's a pretty damn big platform. It's a good place to start.
Right. Yeah, no doubt.
All right. Well, this has been a blast. Good to be back, and we'll talk to you next time. Parker, take it easy, buddy.
Adios.